This just might be the godfather of these trumped-up charges against Donald Trump. Mark Pomerantz, an admitted Trump hater, he volunteered his time at the district attorney's office to come up with a, well, what he even admits is a totally convoluted, untested, never tried before scheme to get President Trump. This is from his audiobook. Take a listen.
So, to charge Trump with something other than a misdemeanor, Danny would have to argue that the intent to commit or conceal a federal crime had converted the falsification of the records into a felony. No appellate court in New York had ever upheld or rejected this interpretation of the law. Observations that my new colleagues were expressing had no substance. The unspoken concern of some of the office's old-timers that I did not know New York criminal law, that I was too aggressive, and that I was looking for a quick kill that might not hold up in court.
You think, Mark? It's amazing what they put in these books. Like, we're not going to read them, but some people did. I'm joined now by Alina Habba, President Trump's attorney, and also by Matt Whitaker, former acting Attorney General of the United States of America. Welcome to you both. Mr. Attorney General, first to you. Is there any way, is there any way this thing could be undone? I mean, look, we don't have official word from the district attorney yet. Let's say they actually voted on this thing. They said, okay, we agree. Can the district attorney dismiss that and say, I'm not going forward with this? I have seen the light. This is fake. Is this a done deal at this point? Is he indicted? I can't tell if he's officially indicted at this point.
Well, I'm guessing that they haven't been served. They've been notified. And so, I mean, at any time a prosecutor can toss a case out with or without prejudice. I mean, but there's so many other ways this case is ultimately going to be tossed if Alvin Bragg doesn't see the light. And that is obviously the statute of limitations issue. We have an issue just of like you said, the Godfather's words that he says. This is an untested, unproven theory. I think they have to run the traps on this whole idea that a federal campaign election violation even happened. Remember, this is not the way the FEC nor the killers at the Southern District of New York interpreted this law. And so I would be very skeptical that this case would ever go to trial. And remember, I'm not convinced that the facts even support any charge, let alone this extraordinary untested charge.
So, Alina Habba, about a dozen years ago or so, I personally was investigated by the district attorney of New York, of Manhattan, of New York County. And it was about a 2 or 3 week investigation. And during that time, you know what I did? I didn't say anything about the district attorney. I didn't make any public statements. I didn't call him names. And look, I love your client, but do you think that as an attorney, perhaps the Soros-backed stuff, the animal stuff, which I believe I agree with him, but maybe, in retrospect, not the thing to say?
I guess if your question is implying whether this in some regard happened because Donald Trump made public statements about the DA, Greg, I can't agree with that. I think Donald Trump is different than you or I. Donald Trump is a candidate for presidency, as you know. He is a former president, and I think what he did was get ahead of something he heard and we now know was coming. DA Bragg and a lot of these politicians, they're just different. They're taking things to a level that we've never seen, and it's very frightening time. Do I like name calling in general? No. But I think that the president is who he is, and part of that relates to a lot of American people. It's part of why he was president, because he doesn't work for politicians and he only works for the American people. And I think that shows when he's upset and when he loves this country so much. I said on another show a couple days ago that if you love something, you get angry, and he loves this country. And if he didn't, he wouldn't be upset, and you wouldn't see those kinds of reactions and the things that he calls out, frankly.
Mr. Attorney General, you know the swamp. You know how much they hate him, career prosecutors, all these guys. And earlier in the show, they're talking about, we're going to fingerprint him. We'll take his mugshot. Number one, are they actually salivating at the chance to do that? And number two, as an attorney, and for you too, Alina, I mean, there must be a way to avoid all of that. I mean, during COVID, people were Zooming in. You'd be Zoomed for arraignment, and we can't let that. That's not going to happen, right?
Well, obviously, and this is going to be a highly negotiated situation between the president, the lawyers, the Secret Service, and everyone involved. Obviously, there is a way to handle this to make sure that that no one's put at risk, including the former president. And but at the same time, this is a moment that I think is one of the darkest days in American history. We have had a president that, since he came down the escalator in 2015, has been persecuted by the deep state, by the prosecutorial careers. We have just had people that would suffer from Trump derangement syndrome that want to get him at any cost and get him off the national stage because he's that dangerous, Greg, to their worldview and their way that they think America should run. And this, I know, makes President Trump fight even harder. Alina and I were together a couple of weeks ago on a flight back and forth to my home state of Iowa, and the president is indefatigable in how he does these types of things, and he's going to fight. And I know that everybody around him is going to fight on his behalf. But I just think that this was unnecessary for America and for our future.
Alina, I'm optimistic and I have faith, but I'm worried because it's up to a very small number of people at this point. Potentially Manhattan jurors. They're my neighbors. They're liberal. They hate Trump, and they will. I mean, there aren't many barriers between now and a potential trial and conviction or an acquittal, hopefully. How do you feel about that? You know what I mean? This is not. It's not like the Supreme Court is going to intervene tomorrow and stop all this.
I agree with you, Greg, but there's one thing I know that I think that the American people should know, and it's that he didn't do anything wrong. So we have facts, and we have terrible key witnesses like Michael Cohen, who is a convicted felon and liar. And these are the people that this trial is going to rely on. And I don't think New Yorkers like Michael Cohen that much, to be honest. I think they're sick of this game. And if they're American citizens, no matter if they're Democrat or Republican, I hope they stand in the way and they worry about this being their Uncle Joe. It's frightening. And I'm with you. It's frightening. I wouldn't want to be in front of a Manhattan jury. People see me, they see Trump and an affiliation with Trump. And it's a frightening thing that we've lost that type of democracy in this country.
All right. I'm glad you guys are in the public square and that you're supporters of President Trump. He's fortunate to have allies like you. Alina Habba, his lawyer, of course, and Matt Whitaker, former Attorney General for the United States of America under Donald Trump. An honor to have you both, and we'll speak again, and we'll be right back.